I've always been told that your shadow is just a silhouette of your body, the shape created by your body blocking the light source behind you. I think we all learned this in grade school when our teacher, Mr. Williams, made us stand in a line facing the board, and then he made us turn sideways so we could see how our bodies blocked. The sunlight coming through the window, creating these cool little shapes on the wall beside us. Mr. Williams was a quirky guy. He liked to show us things like that. I remember him showing us how a pinhole in a leaf could let light pass through and create a round shadow on the ground, or how when the wind blew through the trees, it would make these cool patterns on the playground. But the one thing he showed us that day that has stuck with me for the most part is this. When you walk, your shadow walks with you. It matches your movements exactly because it is literally just the shape of your body. So imagine my surprise when I first noticed that my shadow didn't match my movements anymore. It started subtly. At first, I only noticed it when I was walking really fast or running. The news had reported a string of robberies at convenience stores that were happening at night, and I wanted to be more aware of my surroundings. So I decided to take a midnight stroll to the corner store that was a block away from my apartment. Now, normally I wasn't worried about being outside at night. We had street lights and there were always a few cars driving around. But recently, I had heard some news reports about a robber who was targeting people at night while they were out walking. The news said that this guy was smart because he would watch people for a while before striking, and he would wait until they were alone before attacking them. So when I was walking back from work, I decided to walk faster so that if the robber was following me, I would get home quicker than he could get to me. Then I saw it. For a split second, I caught my shadow out of the corner of my eye, and I thought, that's weird. I don't remember my shadow looking like that. You see, normally when I walked, my shadow would look like a human silhouette of me walking. But when I walked fast, my shadow would warp into this humanoid blob shape. It didn't matter how fast I walked. The faster I walked, the more distorted my shadow became. Now, at first, I tried to convince myself that there was a logical explanation for what I was seeing. Maybe there was an underground power line nearby that was messing with the magnetic field or something. And maybe electricity was making my shadow all twisted and weird like that. Or maybe I was standing in two different shadows at the same time, like when Mr. Williams showed us with the cutout. Maybe I was standing in the shadow that the street lamp made and the shadow that the clouds made. That has to be it, right? There's no way that my shadow could be behaving like that. So I slowed down, and sure enough, the shadow returned to normal. Perfect, I thought. Logical explanation. No need to worry. But then I started paying attention to my shadow whenever I went outside, and that S when things got really weird. You see, it wasn't just when I was walking fast anymore. It was now every time I moved, my shadow mimicked my movements, but it was off. Like it was watching me, but it was a few seconds late. Like I was moving normally, and then I would see my shadow do the same thing, but it was like someone else was controlling it. I can best describe it as if my shadow had its own mind. Sometimes it would mimic my movements exactly, but sometimes it would do things on its own. Sometimes it would shrink or grow larger. Sometimes it would move normally, and other times it would go crazy and warp and twist in ways that shadows shouldn't be able to. Sometimes it would even look like it was smiling at me. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but that's what I saw. And yes, I took pictures, but unfortunately I couldn't get any good ones. Every time I tried to snap a pic, my shadow would return to normal. But I did end up taking a few photos of some of the stranger shapes that it made. At first, I thought maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I was having some kind of mental breakdown. But then I started noticing the same things happening with other people's shadows too. I started paying attention to the shadows of people I saw every day, like the barista at my favorite coffee shop. And then one day when I was waiting for my mocha, I saw it. Her shadow was mimicking her movements, but it was off. It was like it was trying to copy her, but it was too dumb to do it right. And then I looked over at another customer, and then another, and then another. All their shadows were doing the same thing, were mimicking them, but they were also doing their own thing at the same time. I felt sick to my stomach. I had seen enough horror movies to know how this one was going to end. The world was ending, and I was one of the only people who knew it. I mean, why else would everyone's shadows be acting that way? I didn't tell anyone what I saw that day. I knew they wouldn't believe me. The next day I went to work and I couldn't focus on anything. I kept looking over my shoulder at my coworkers, at their shadows, comparing them to where they were standing and what they were doing. And that's when I noticed something strange. Their shadows weren't following them. They were following me. They were watching me. I sat down at my desk and buried my head in my hands. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see what was going on, but I couldn't help myself. I looked up and I saw it. All their shadows were pointed towards me. They were all watching me. I tried to tell myself that it was a coincidence, that there was a logical explanation for what I was seeing, but deep down I knew that there wasn't. I knew that something was very wrong. That weekend, I packed a bag and I left town. I drove for hours and hours. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew that I needed to get away from those shadows. When I finally stopped to rest, I looked up at the motel room window and I saw it. A smile. It was my shadow. It was smiling at me. I screamed, and I ran to the bathroom to hide. What else could I do? No one would believe me. If I told them what I saw, they would think I was crazy. I stayed in the bathroom for hours, but eventually I had to come out. I had to get food. I had to do something. I couldn't stay in that bathroom forever. So I walked out into the hall and I saw it again. All the shadows were pointing towards my door. They were watching me. I feel like I've lost my mind. I feel like I'm going crazy, like I'm being watched all the time. I can't escape. Please, please help me.